You're watching The Word on Cars. My name's Nish, and this is a quick whip around the Nissan X-Trail. So, this one's the STL, the mid-spec model of the lineup, which can be had with either a 2.5-litre naturally aspirated four-cylinder in either front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, or Nissan's e-Power electric drive system with four-wheel drive, which uses a 1.5-litre turbo three-cylinder to charge the battery or power the dual motors. The X-Trail lineup starts up with the ST, then there's this STL. Both models can be equipped with 7 seats as long as you get the four-wheel drive versions. Then there's the TI and the top-spec TIL, four-wheel drive only with the same powertrain options. Styling-wise, the X-Trail looks the part of a sports utility vehicle all around. It's sporty, and as someone that owns the last generation X-Trail, the T32, the T33, which is the current generation, is definitely a step up. There's split headlights with daytime running lights up front, which seem to be all the rage these days, Nissan's V-Motion grille, 18-inch wheels on the corners with cladding that add to the sportiness, a strong side profile that's reminiscent of the previous generation X-Trail, yet different, a sporty rear end with sharp lines, good-looking tail lamps with daytime running lights, no badging for a cleaner look, and no electric tailgate. Getting in, you get 2 key fobs with lock and unlock buttons, and a blank given this doesn't have the electric tailgate. Looks a bit cheap, to be honest. Plenty of space though to get in and out through the front, and rear doors that open up to 90 degrees. The interior is a massive leap forward from the previous generation. Aside from a few bits and pieces that have been carried forward from the T32 X-Trail, the interior is completely new. Looks great for those that like, shall we say, a contemporary interior in line with what you get from Mazda and Mitsubishi, but out of step compared to Hyundai or Kia. There's an 8-inch floating tablet-style touchscreen, standard functions, decent resolution and responsive. Misses out on built-in navigation, but you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so Google Maps has you covered. TI and TIL models get a 12.3-inch screen. There's also a 7-inch helper screen in the instrument cluster with all the information you need. Nissan also throws in ProPilot, which is basically adaptive cruise control, which links up with traffic sign recognition and active lane keeping rolled into one. There's also a raft of other safety tech, active blind spot monitoring, emergency braking both front and rear, a surround view camera with moving object detection, and a bunch of views. The gear lever, which is easy to operate by pressing the button and sliding the lever forward for reverse, half back for neutral, or full back for drive or sport, lives on the floating center console along with the parking brake, auto hold, and drive mode selector, 3 modes, Eco, Standard, and Sport. Comfort-wise, there's dual zone climate control in here with heated front seats. The driver gets an electrically adjustable seat. Seats are comfortable up front in a leatherette, and there's plenty of room up front too for my 5'9" self in terms of headroom and legroom. Now, storage-wise, there's a disappointingly small glove box. On the center console, you get cup holders, what looks like a spot for a phone, above which there's a USB-A and USB-C port, along with a 12-volt power outlet, space under the floating center console, bottle holders and storage in the doors, storage under the armrest, and a sunglass holder on the ceiling. The back seats are where it's at in this X-Trail because there's plenty of space for the family when it comes to headroom, knee room, and feet. The seat back can be reclined and slid forward or back as well. There is a small hump on the floor, but it's low and flat enough for smaller feet. The seats also get ISOFIX and top tether mounts. Aside from the space back here, there's vents for the back with a USB-A and USB-C port, map pockets, a center armrest that folds down to reveal not only cup holders and a spot for a phone, but also what you have hiding in the cargo area. It's a terrible design. Cargo space-wise, there's 585 litres in the back, which Nissan measures to the ceiling as opposed to the cargo cover like other manufacturers, with a little more storage under the cargo floor. The seats are a 40-20-40 split, though Nissan doesn't advertise how much more space you get by dropping the seats down. So, driving the Nissan X-Trail STL. Now I gotta say, having owned the previous generation Nissan X-Trail, this is definitely a step up and above that in terms of refinement, in terms of interior cabin quality and materials. I mean, yes, it is leatherette throughout, but everything is a soft touch surface. The tops of the door sills, the dashboard, even around the center console, you have this soft touch leatherette with stitching on it, which looks quite nice. For the price point, and given this is a mid-size SUV, I think Nissan's done a really good job of uplifting the X-Trail and bringing it up to modern day standards. In terms of the technology they offer, in terms of the comfort and the convenience features. What's interesting is that you do have all the standard fanfare like your automatic headlights, but you don't actually get automatic wipers in this, which is a little disappointing. But I suppose it's made up for by the fact that you have a lot of safety technologies in this car, and they work brilliantly. Right now I'm just cruising down the highway. I've got my Pro Pilot turned on and it's just doing everything for me, keeps me in the lane, smack bang in the middle. It'll adapt my speed based on cars in front of me and keep me at the set speed limit when it can, reads traffic signs and also adjusts speed based on that. So everything works really, really well. The car is much more refined than the outgoing X-Trail, as I said, and it is a really nice cabin. It is a really nice interior to be in. Now, from a comfort perspective, seats are fantastic. They're leatherette as well, but nevertheless, you're comfortable. The driver gets an electrically adjustable front seat while the passenger has to do it all manually, which is a little bit of a shame. But again, this is the mid-spec model, so I suppose you sort of expect that for the price point of this car. Performance-wise, this STL has a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder under the hood, as I mentioned earlier, and it's ample power. Plenty of get up and go when you need it, plenty of power to overtake, it's responsive. Sticking this car into sport will make it a little bit more responsive, but in standard, it's perfectly fine. Adequate power for a car like this, which is a mid-sized SUV at the end of the day. You're not going to win any land speed records, but again, it's not intended to do so. Ample power. From a transmission perspective, this has an 8-speed, constantly variable transmission. Works really well. Gear changes are really smooth. You can use the paddle shifters on the steering wheel to change gears manually, but stick it in standard, leave it in automatic, and the car does everything for you. It works brilliantly. Then we have the suspension in the X-Trail. It's geared towards more of a softer ride, and again, in this segment, you expect that. It handles the road really well. It is a comfortable ride. Irons out all the bumps on the road, undulations, potholes. It'll navigate through all of those things without any issues with ease. So suspension is set up quite well. From a steering perspective, it is an electric steering rack, so it is highly assisted. You can, again, put it into sport. It does stiffen up ever so slightly, but really it is responsive, responds to input really quickly. All in all, works brilliantly. I think the drawback of this car is probably the brakes, because even though they work really well, they are a little squidgy. It will bring you at a grinding halt when you need it to, but in terms of brake feel, it's a little lackluster. I think Nissan could probably do a little bit better with the braking in this car. Again, it works really well. It works fine. It's just more the feel you get from the pedal isn't amazing. So, all in all, Nissan's done a really good job in terms of modernizing the X-Trail and bringing it into the future. The cabin is a really nice place to be. You have soft touch materials everywhere. You've got this two-tone interior in this particular STL in brown and black with stitching. Not to mention the fact that this car is fully loaded with safety technology, which is pretty impressive for the price point of this car. Now, from an exterior perspective, Nissan's managed to still maintain the sportiness that the X-Trail is known for. There's a reason why globally the X-Trail is one of the most popular cars out there. And look, the market is saturated. There are a lot of competitors out there that are competing directly with the X-Trail, but at a drive-away price of 48,000 Australian dollars, I think the X-Trail is going to keep being popular, and I think it's going to keep selling the way it's always sold. So if you're in the market for a mid-size SUV, then I think you should definitely add the X-Trail STL to the list and have a look.